I thought I would start with a poll, a survey, and I've never actually tried this before, so this is a little bit of an experiment for me. So the question is, when did you start TPT? And there's some odd numbers, 2025, 2024, 2022. I'm going to scan mine. One, I'm curious to know who's here, but two, the way that we view TPT SEO depends on when you started TPT SEO because the search engine has changed. So for those of us who started in 2025, if you just started, then this is the only kind of search engine that you know. And the challenge is sometimes you'll hear people talk about TPT search, but TPT search was significantly different before 2019. So I'll work backwards. But if you only started now, then welcome to the game. If you started in 2024 or before 2024, TPT changed the way that we measure product stats and statistics on the website. So they went from Google Analytics 3 to Google Analytics 4. So if you change your conversion rate before that date in July 2024, your numbers were measured using a different benchmark. You're comparing apples to oranges. So sometimes when we do TPT SEO, we think, okay, I'm going to change something. Did it work compared to last year? But my conversion rate, but you can't compare your conversion rate before that date line in 2024.
Mm.
No one started in 2022 or 2023, but a few of us are in the E category. So 2022, 2023 is when IXL bought TPT, and just before IXL bought TPT, they were doing personalized search. So personalized search meant that if you went into incognito mode or if you turned on a VPN, you would get different results. And I think what TPT was doing was they were using people's locations, proximity to the buyer to influence search results. So if you were close by, kind of like when you go to Starbucks and you have the app and you find stores located next to you. So one of the options in the software that TPT uses for search allows them to use geo-proximity. And I think they turned that on because we were getting different results if you were using a VPN versus incognito mode versus signed in or signed out. So if you started in 22, 23, you would have had a very different search bump in there because of personalized search. 2020 to 2022 was COVID. So that was a crazy year, crazy couple of years in terms of search volume. And then people who started in 2019 or before. So TPT switched to a search software program called Algolia in 2019, which means if you use TPT before 2019, or if you follow search advice from before 2019, they were using a completely different search algorithm. So it's kind of like saying, hey, I play football. And in 2019, they switched to British soccer as opposed to American football. The rules are completely different before 2019. And so that's probably where keyword density and like keyword stuffing was probably a factor. Okay, so we're going to chat about TPT SEO. And my next question, let's see if I can get there, is how comfortable are you with TPT SEO? So, my name's Mike Fuchigami. I have a YouTube channel. I was in the classroom for 13 years teaching grade 8, and then life happened and I don't do that anymore. So I've been a TPT seller for 6 years. And the last 3, 4 years, I've been spending it in the TPT seller coach space. So I spend a lot of time chatting with sellers. I've had over 1,000 conversations or 1,000 hours of conversations with sellers. Some of them are in the top 100, so they've hit the $1 million mark and beyond. Some of them literally have cracked their first $100, which is exciting too. So I play a lot I spend a lot of time in the space, but I wanted to say that even though I'm standing here chatting in front of you, I'm not actually the expert, which is an odd thing to say. I'm just the person with the microphone. So collectively, we are the experts. And what I mean by that is there's this parable about the elephant and some blind people touching the elephant and trying to guess what the animal is. And if you touch, depending on which part of the animal you touch, you're going to have a very different experience about what this animal looks like. And this is kind of a metaphor for TPT. TPT SEO is a black box. So outside of the people in Team TPT, and specifically not just anywhere in Team TPT, because the people in the support department that you email, they will always give opaque sort of confusing general result like answers. Like if you ask them about a question about TpT SEO, they have a script that they're going to say, and they're going to say that it's always personalized, and that's the game book that they have to play. So the only people who truly understand TpT SEO are the engineers who run it. And they do these A/B tests, and they try different variations and different levers of the software. And even if they weren't doing A/B tests, you and I can encounter the same formula with different keywords. And depending on what the keyword is, we'll get different results. And sometimes I scratch my head and I can't figure out why a result is there. So I don't have all the answers, but I do have a lot of questions. And collectively, we have this lived experience where you've interacted with a search term, and then you're wondering why my resource is at the top or not at the top. So that's where I'm sort of going. So I'm not the expert. I'm just one person with a voice. But your lived experience matters. So if I say something that differs from what you've personally seen, or from your understanding of TpT search, or from what you've heard someone else say, I would love to hear it because I'm not always right. I make lots of mistakes, and that's how we learn. So that's where I'm going with this. All right. So here are four things that I don't think we talk about enough with TpT SEO. And the first one is that TpT SEO, all it means is you put the keyword that you're going after exactly that way in the title. And that's how you optimize it. Full stop. Okay. And now some of you are thinking like, oh, wait, what about putting it in the product description? Or I should put it in the snippet, or I should put it in the cover. These are all great things. What I like to say is TpT SEO is both a science and an art. So from a science technical perspective, the formula looks for certain things in certain places. If you have the exact keyword in the exact order in the title, that is the best possible way, and you are relevant for that search term. And then the question is, well, how do I get higher if I'm relevant? The art part of TpT SEO is there's a sales psychology component. So if you're in the top 100, or if you're like the top 100 results, and someone searches up a keyword and then they click on your result because they saw the keyword in your cover and they thought, this is exactly what I'm looking for, you just got a vote of confidence in the algorithm. And once you get 20 votes of confidence, that becomes a signal to boost higher in the rank. So this is called dynamic re-ranking. Things go up and down depending on how people interact with your search. And I might have a great dynamic re-ranking boost with one keyword phrase, but I might not have that same boost on a separate keyword phrase. So these are separate things, but basically we can talk about keywords, we can talk about increasing getting sales, but it just means put the keyword exact match in the title. Okay, here is secret number two that I don't think we're talking about. You need sales to rank higher. And I know that after chatting with lots of people, we want a magic keyword list. And when I put this keyword list in my product, all of a sudden I'll start getting ka-chings and I'll make more sales. But the reality is, if you want to rank higher, you need sales of your product, right? And so the theory is, okay, try to go after that low hanging fruit, get a couple of sales, and then you become more attractive and you have more sales power for larger keywords. Right. But you got to have sales. And that's the part that I think a lot of us don't want to hear because we hope that we just put keywords. Okay. I'm going to talk about secret one and secret two in depth more, but I want to talk about secret number three, which is only 1.5% of sellers on TpT made 4 digits in sales last year. So we often talk about how do this, do that. You can make 4 figures like me. And the reality is 1.5% of TpT sellers do that. And the reason why I say that, I am going to spend a little bit of time here, is because I think we need to manage expectations about what keywords can do. So I'll give Chris a link to the video later on. I do have a YouTube video about this, but basically last year, TpT sent out this year-end yearbook. And in the code was our actual store ranking. And so I did a survey that basically said, hey, tell me your store rank and tell me your earnings for last year anonymously, and we'll compile the data and see what kind of patterns we can see. So TpT paid out an estimated $253 million to sellers for the entire year last year in 2024. That's how big the pie is. but most of that money goes to a very small percentage. So in this graph, the blue dots, and this is zoomed in, we had a lot more than what it looks like here, but those blue dots are basically data points. And we can draw a straight line to figure out how many approximate sellers there are on TPT. So last year, there were probably 233,000 sellers who made at least $1 in all of 2024. Because if you didn't make $1 in 2024, you don't show up in the ranks. Okay, so we talk about like, hey, making six figures on TPT or retiring from TPT or making four figures or three figures, whatever your goal is. This is a graph showing how much money we've made as TPT sellers. So on the vertical side, that's earnings, and the top there is $1 million. And then on the horizontal side, it starts from zero, store rank one all the way to rank 232,081. So this is the number of stores at the bottom. And if you look really carefully, all of that blue on the left-hand side, that's where all the money is. So the long tail here is most sellers on TPT don't actually make any money. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. If you made $10 or more in 2024, you were in the top 83% of sellers, which meant that 194,000 of us made $10. Okay. So if I go up to the next one, the next benchmark is $100. If you made $100 last year, you were in the top 30% of sellers, which is around 71,000 sellers who made that much money. Okay, so that's $10 per month, roughly, $8 per month. If you made $1,000 in 2024, then you were in the top 7% of sellers. So these are people who made basically $80 per month, right? Very few of us actually do that. So only 16,000 sellers made that much money. If we look at $10,000 earnings for last year, that's 1.5% of sellers. So these are people who are making $880 a month on average. This is only 3,500 sellers, right? And then if we look at the big one, because that's the one people are curious about, people who made over $100,000 are 0.2% of sellers, right? Which is only 431 individuals. All right. Any questions about this? Like, so yes, there is money to be made, but the reason why I talk about this is it's actually really hard to make $100,000 on TPT, despite whatever, like people selling courses, like we sell the dream of making money, but the reality is it's kind of like becoming a professional hockey player. So in 1968, they did some numbers, 32,000 kids playing minor hockey, 65 of them made it to the NHL. That's a 0.2% success rate. Likewise, in TPT land, there's 233,000 stores that made at least a buck. Only 400 of them made over 100K. So our odds of becoming a $100,000 TPT seller in a year are basically like becoming a professional hockey player. So I mention this because I think sometimes people hop from keyword tool to keyword tool to keyword tool because they're looking for a magical list of keywords where if they put this keyword in, then they'll all of a sudden unlock all of this money. And the reality is, secret number 4 is success takes really hard work. And putting in the right keywords or keyword research or TpT SEO is hard work. And you can do all the right things and still not make it to the top because it's hard, right? And it's kind of like you can play hockey and still not compete at a hard level. You can still enjoy the game, you can enjoy the sport. So that's where I wanted to go. I'm going to talk about keywords and TpT SEO, but remember, one time I explained to someone all the things I did, and they didn't want to do it all, right? They didn't want to do all of that research. They were looking for an easier way to be able to get to the top. And the reality is it's hard work. Okay, so any thumbs up if you're okay with where I'm at? Awesome. So let's go back to secret number 1. Let's talk about TpT SEO. I'm saying TpT SEO just means you put the exact keyword in your title. All right, so here's this guy. He's telling it to you in a Zoom meeting. Prove it. No problem. All right. This is the longest word in the English dictionary. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this word and I'm going to put it in the Zoom chat, and I'm going to invite you to search this keyword on TpT and tell me what you notice.
I noticed that you have the top ranking uh product for it in my
I do.
search.
Yeah, I'm going to guess all of us have the exact same search in the exact same order. Can you give me a thumbs up if we have the same search results? Okay, perfect. So if we had different results, and one day we might, that means that they're doing personalized search, or you've gotten a different version of the algorithm. Sometimes if you use a keyword tool and it says like, here are the search results, that server or that keyword tool is using search version A. And then if you go into a different browser, you might get search version B. I do have the first result, and the question is why? And we can see the highlighted word in purple.
I was going to guess it's because you're the only person with a product with that word in it, but I'm surprised to see that there's three other products.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So why why is the first product, so I can see the purple's highlighted in the title, but if you look at the bottom, there's also a highlighted term in the title
With the same number of ratings and the same
with the same
score.
number.
Oh no, no, is it the same number? No, you have more 5 stars. You have 5, they have 2.
Right. But I would argue that's not actually the reason why my product is at the top for this search and Sunflower Education's is not.
Age of the product?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are ways for us to look at the age of the product. But for now, let's pretend that they were both made at the same age. There's another small difference, and it took me forever to notice this. And once I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly why it is. So there were two ideas. The first idea was this punctuation mark, the colon. I spent a lot of time reading the Algolia manual because it's the manual. And the way that TpT search works, the way that Algolia works, is each word in an attribute. So in this case, the title is stored by itself in an index. So word zero would be worlds, and it gets rid of the apostrophes, it gets rid of any punctuation, and it just puts the word in lowercase without punctuation. So that bottom product, word zero would be worlds, word one would be longest, word two would be word three would be this very long word. So they strip the colon. So the danger from a TpT SEO perspective is sometimes we don't have enough room in the title, so we cram the words together without leaving a space after the punctuation. And the danger of that is the algorithm might consider that a single word, right? Like as opposed to two separate words. So just always make sure you have a space after your punctuation. But it's not the punctuation because that would be stripped out of it. So the person at the bottom spelt it maybe a British way or a different way. They spelled pneumo ultra microscopic silico volcanoconosis. They spelled the conosis with a K at the
Oh,
bottom.
okay.
And so the algorithm looks at that and it says, that's a typo. It is one character away from what the user is searching for.
Hmm.
So I would argue my hypothesis is that the title is the number one important thing. And what I like to do is I like to look at search results that have fewer than 1,000 results because Algolia will only ever return 1,000 results. If you try to go past page 42, 43, you can't go past it. Like the algorithm doesn't return any results. So when you can see the entire data set, you can start to notice patterns. And I noticed this first product, the keyword is in the title. The second product, the keyword is in the snippet. Same with the third product, same with the fourth product. But if I look at the order of the second, the third, the fourth product, I have more reviews. And what's interesting is this product has never sold, or maybe it sold once. So all of my products, when I publish them for free, and then I turn them into paid resources. And this particular bundle, it's an outlier because the ultimate bundle is like well, now it's $50, but it was $25 at the time. And so all of my other products were more expensive than the bundle itself because I wanted people just to buy the bundle. Because if you buy the bundle, then all of the sales are concentrated in one resource, and that helps it to rank higher. So my TpT Seller Ultimate Bundle ranks higher than the other ones. But this resource has never sold, whereas I would argue, or I would wonder if these other resources have sold. But I'm guessing product two, product three, product four, we all have it in our snippet, so that's why we're in the second group. But I'm guessing it's sorting it based on reviews, right? It could be price, it could be other things, but this is sort of the kinds of questions I wonder. And then this last one, once it's found all of the words, all of the products that match the keyword exactly as it's spelt, then it starts to sort and find other ones, like ones that have typos. So if you search up the exact same word, I'm going to put it in search, but if you change that last word and put it with a K, so the exact same word, but K at the end, I'm going to guess that product shows up at the first spot, followed by the rest of the order. And I'll search that too. So I'll search for kenosis with a K.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Do you get the same results as me? So everyone has the same order here. Yeah. So this is why I say the exact match matters. So if I'm looking for worksheet and someone spells it and someone types worksheets plural, or they click on the auto suggest and you click on the plural version, that plural version will have a better match than the singular version of that word. And this becomes the game of which word do I spell? Do I spell color the British way or the American way? These little things matter, but then it also matters from a sales perspective. If I spell color, COLOUR, and you're looking up coloring things and you look at my product, you're going to think I made a spelling mistake. Or even though you know it's spelled the British way, it's a little bit of friction that makes you not want to click it from a sales psychology perspective. Okay, I've been monologuing for a while. Are there any questions or things that you've seen or experienced in your world that agree or disagree?
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead with this question. So does word order matter? Not that it's like grammatically correct, but certain words being prioritized.
Okay, so I'm going to answer that question with a game, and I'm going to put it in I'm going to put the link in the Zoom tool. So I have a game. Let's copy this link and let's paste it in Zoom chat. All right. So I put this game in in the chat, and you can play with me. And you can play with different answers. But basically, Algolia does this bucket. It asks a series of questions, and the answers to the questions are usually like yes, no, a few, maybe, right? Like so, it sorts our answers into buckets. What we don't know is the order of the questions, and we don't know which questions TpT has turned on or turned off. So this game is set with the default questions, like the default series, if TpT didn't change any questions. And this is what I mean by A/B testing. TpT will change one of the algorithm settings in version B. They'll keep the settings the same in version A, and they see which one makes more money. And then they decide, okay, I'm going to go with version B. So let's pretend literally a teacher is searching up the phrase two word, TWO space WORD. And let's pretend there are 768 results in this. So at the very beginning, we're at the end here, we're at the back. And your product, so I'm going to ask you a question. You can just pretend here. Do you have the search phrase in the title, right? In the product title or description? So as long as the answer is yes to that, you're in the game. The algorithm thinks that you're relevant for this. So then the next question, according to Algolia, is do you have any typos? And this is where we see the difference. If someone was searching for that long word kenosis with a C and someone was searching with a K, according to the algorithm, the one spelled with a K is a typo. So that's why it showed up in the second bucket. It showed up in the red half here. But I'm going to say I have no typos. So then my product is in the first bucket. The next question in Algolia is geolocation. How close are you to the buyer? And this is where I think TPT had personalized search. So are you in the same city within 500K or like far, far away? So I'm going to say I'm in the same city as the buyer. And in theory, during personalized search, I would show up higher. And I've had sellers who sort of say, "Oh, that's why I was getting like buyers from my city or whatever, like search results." So that's why I feel about that. The next question that Algolia asks are how many words from the search phrase are in your title? So if all of the words are in the search phrase, you go in the first bucket. If you only have one of the words in the search phrase, you're still relevant, but you're in the second bucket, right? So this is why having no, two words or both words is important. This is the question about filters, and this is why putting all grades is a horrible thing to do. Because if you are searching based on the filters, like the teacher sets a grade level of grade 5, and you don't have grade 5, you can't possibly show up for this result. So I'm going to say I have the same grade that they're searching for. And then, Chris, this is your question. Are the words side by side in the correct order? So this is one of the bucket questions, and the answer is yes. It actually counts. It gives you a score based on the number of words you have in the direct order. And if you have them in the opposite order, you get a -1, right? So it penalizes your score. So if they have this rule activated, then yes, the exact word order matters. But we never know if this is on or not. So in the ideal model, the answer is yes. The next question is, are some parts of the algorithm, are some parts of the product page more important than others? And the experiment that I showed you at the beginning shows us that the title is the most important. So the question is, do you have the phrase in the title? And if the answer is yes, then you're in the first bucket. If you only have it in the product description, you're in the second bucket. So we're just sorting the products one after the other until finally the question is literally, do you have the exact keywords in your product title? And so if the answer is yes, you're in the first bucket. If the answer is no, you're in the second bucket, and you get sorted to the end. And finally, you're in the top 24 products. You're in bucket number 1. And where you end up depends on how many sales you have or how many reviews or whatever the secret sauce is. Does that answer your question, Chris?
I think so.
Yeah. So now my question to you is, do you which which rule do you think TPT is actually like is emphasizing, or like are there any of these rules that they've turned off? And I think they've turned off geolocation because we all get the same results, right? But this is the game, and this is why sometimes we have different results, or like last year you might get a different result versus this year because the algorithm can change based on these levers. Let's talk about secret number 2. And it's interesting, Chris, because you drive your own traffic. You're succeeding at this secret because all of those sales on the TPT platform will continue to boost your product and give you more horsepower, if that makes sense. So this is the unicorn game. The idea is you actually need sales to rank higher, which is something that not everyone wants to hear because getting sales is hard. Driving your own traffic is hard. We wish that we can get all of our traffic from TPT, which is why TpT SEO is so attractive. This is the unicorn metaphor of TpT SEO. And in this game, getting seen on TPT is like a horse race. So this is a race to get to the front of page 1. Your product in this metaphor is always a horse. And that's because I think it's funny to say, how much horsepower does your product have? I think that's a funny pun. So that's why your product is always a horse. Keywords can be either horses or zebras. Or sorry, keywords can, oh, hey, there's a typo there. Keywords are either unicorns or zebras. They're never a horse, so unicorns or zebras. Okay. So as you get more sales, the animals level up like in a video game, right? Probably as you get more reviews, we don't know for sure, but the guess is as you get more reviews, your animal levels up. Probably as people literally download your resource, your product levels up. And I say this because I had a free product that was, I think, 50,000 downloads. And then I turned it into a paid resource. and it didn't drop in ranking. It would have, if it was only units sold, it should have dropped in ranking. But that's why I think downloads of the actual resource, like how many times individuals they bought it, they download it, do they download it again? Oh, it must be really good. They keep on downloading it every year. It's a signal to the algorithm that this is a good resource. So probably as you get more downloads, the animal levels up. Definitely recent sales. The algorithm seems to favor, especially the last 7 days. So you can be in this snowball effect where you get sales, the snowball starts rolling, you show up higher in search, you get more sales, the snowball gets bigger, you rank higher in search. But the opposite is also true. You don't get sales, so you drop in search, which means you don't get seen as often, so you get fewer sales, so you drop more. So I like to call that the TpT toilet bowl effect. So you're either in a snowball or you're in the toilet bowl effect until finally you become a level 7 horse, right? And ultimately what it is TpT has these business metrics in a secret formula that they use to calculate the animal score. Okay, so no one knows this algorithm, but we can guess whether or not we can rank on the first page. And if you were going to guess, what could you look at on the first page of a search page to figure out whether a new product would be able to rank? Will my brand new product make it to the top of reading comprehension? What do you think? People are shaking their heads. I would agree. Why would you say that? Because someone who is new to TpT wouldn't know that necessarily.
Because the amount of reviews and stars,
Yeah,
well,
but
reviews.
what do the number of reviews tell you though? You're right. Like it could
They
be literally the number of reviews, but it probably represents something else as well.
the number of downloads.
Yeah, like number of like if it's been reviewed 5,000 times, it's been purchased 5,000 times, right? So we can guess how often a product has been purchased. Sometimes there are outliers like this one here. This one has nine reviews, and you think, how did it get there? And so the current theory we have is TpT randomly selects some products for high traffic keywords, and they just manually pin it to that position and it gets a bunch of sales and then they let it go and sees what happens, right? So I think they're doing that from a business perspective. If you always go to TpT and you always see the same results, it's always the same. I've seen that. So I think manually they're trying to spice things up there. But okay, so one way to figure out if we are competitive would be to look at the number of reviews. The other way would be to look at how many competitors there are. So if there's like 600,000 results, yeah, I'm never getting to the front of that page. And so keyword difficulty is a number that I just say it's the logarithm of the number of resources. If you're not a math person, no problem. It's literally the number of zeros in the number, right? So if there are 10,000 resources, there are 7 zeros. The keyword difficulty, this is a level 7 animal. If there's only 1 million resources, there are 6 zeros. So this is a level 6 animal, a level 5 animal, a level 4 animal, a level 3 animal. So we're looking for level 2 or level 3 animals because there's only 100 resources. We can probably rank, even if I'm in last position for 100 resources, I'm on page 4, right? Someone might scroll down that far, they'll see me. And then the dream would be a level 1 unicorn. Okay. So getting seen on TpT is like a horse race. Page 1 is the finish line. We have two animals here. We have a level 4 unicorn and a level 1 horse. When we put the keyword in the title, that's like choosing which horse race you want to compete in, right? And once your keyword is in that title, then it's a race to the front of page 1. And people think, okay, I need to do TpT SEO. Mike, tell me about TpT SEO. What keyword should I use? You've already done the SEO part because you're in the race, right? And so in order for you to get to the front of the race, you need horsepower. And horsepower are sales, reviews, business metrics. So Chris, when you drive your own like traffic to your product, you are generating horsepower for that, which gives you an unfair advantage to rank higher, right? And likewise, if you're a store that has like 10,000 followers and you put out a new product that matches your niche, you instantly will get sales and reviews because you've amassed your own traffic, right? So you have this horsepower. the key here for new sellers is to choose the races where we can actually win and get to the front of page one. That's the hard part of the game. That's the keyword selection part. The trap is you have to choose keywords that people are actually searching. And where it gets hard is if you're in a micro niche, like languages, for example, and you don't know if people are searching in your language or French or Spanish or English. What's nice about that is you're not showing up in the keyword tools, so you don't have people chasing that unicorn. What's hard about it is you don't know if you actually have a term that people are using. And so this is where lived experience and like, I couldn't find this as a teacher, and then I made the resource, and then it sold like crazy. That's where those stories are coming from because they found a micro niche. Um, and so ultimately, sometimes the trap that newer TPT sellers will do is they'll search for a very long keyword that's in their title, and they rank on page one for that, but no one is searching for that long keyword because it's just artificially in your title, right? But they think they're doing well because they're on page one, but no one's searching for it. All right, here's the last metaphor, and then we're going to play with the tool. Keywords are unicorns or zebras. Unicorn score is just a ratio. It's comparing the number of resources to how much people are searching. So on TPT, there's a popularity. All keyword tools use the exact same, we all go to the same well to get water. So the popularity will always be the same no matter what keyword tool you use, except Seller Spy, YDP, and maybe some others. What they're doing is they're making a huge database of historical keywords, right? The keyword tool that we're going to play with today is live keywords. So it's what people are searching for. But in this game, let's pretend I have 10 resources for this keyword. That's why it's a level one question mark. And the popularity we don't know because it's below 8. So if the popularity is below the threshold of 8, TPT doesn't show it. And that's just to get rid of some spam words. Okay. If I wanted to have, if this resource had 10,000 products in it, then this would be a level 4 keyword. So we're going to look at a level 4 keyword. The level 4 keyword's never going to change because there's always 10,000 resources. If this was a Christmas word and in November the popularity starts to become 10, then 10,000 divided by 10, the unicorn score is 1,000. This shows up as a zebra. Let's say it's the middle of November and now the popularity for this Christmas word is 25. The unicorn score is 400. We're still a zebra. As the unicorn score gets lower, it gets more powerful. So we want a really low unicorn score until eventually, let's say it's the end of November and the popularity, the search volume is 100. So now the unicorn score is 100 and I made this game show unicorns as an animal score of 100. It's arbitrary. It's a nice round number. It could have been any number, but hey, we needed unicorns. Okay. So popularity for this Christmas word, it's going up. And as popularity goes up, the unicorn score goes down, right? And something magical happens when the unicorn score drops below 15. So when it drops below 15, the background changes to a light yellow. So this means you're looking for yellow unicorns. Okay, so let's say popularity is still rising, the unicorn score is still dropping. The next threshold in this game is when the unicorn score is 10, and then it becomes a brighter yellow. And then popularity is still going up higher. The unicorn score is still dropping. The popularity keeps on getting higher. We're getting closer to Christmas. The popularity goes higher until eventually the unicorn score drops to 5 and we have a bright yellow unicorn. So in this game that we're going to play, in this Google Sheet tool, you're looking for bright yellow unicorns, but really we care about the strength of the unicorn. Because if I have a baby product that's a level 1 horse, it's going to get trampled by a level 4 unicorn. So I don't want a level 4 unicorn. I want to look for a product that has fewer resources. So if I have 1,000 resources and the unicorn score is 5, I have a level 3 unicorn. That's bright yellow. If there's only 100 resources, that's even better. This is a level 2 unicorn and it's bright yellow, so I want to go after that. And then the dream would be, and this happens, there are some keywords out there that have a popularity of 10 and they have around 10 resources, so it's a level 1 baby unicorn. And that's the dream, but in reality, I would go after a level 3 unicorn as well. How are we doing with the monologue? Are we ready to play with a toy? We're okay. So let's play with this Google Sheet toy. I'm going to put the link. Let's copy this link. Let's put it in uh, the Zoom chat. And this tool will work until next Monday. So you can search up keywords, you can look for keyword unicorns. Um, Double check at the end, there's a terms of service. So technically speaking, TpT says, hey, in their terms of service, don't interfere with our services through automated means. You have to decide on your own whether or not you think this interferes with the service. I don't think it does, but I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Always consult a lawyer for legal advice. But in order to access the internet, I'm going to give permission to this Google Sheet. I'm going to click Allow Access. And what this does is it lets Google Sheets go to the TpT website to get the popularity. And Google Sheets has what's called a rate limiting factor. So it'll limit the rate that you can access the internet so that you don't overload servers. So that's why I don't think I'm interfering with anyone, because the more I use this term, the more I do research in this, you'll notice it gets slower and slower. And when it gets slower, you just have to come back in 15 minutes and it'll speed up again because Google Sheets slows down. So I don't know, Chris, tell me a keyword that you might be looking for to make a resource, hypothetically speaking.
Right now I'm doing identifying proportional relationships from a table.
Awesome. So I'm going to write proportional relationships just to see what happens. So this is the equivalent of typing in proportional relationships in TpT search. And these are the keywords that show up in TpT search's auto-suggest. The difference is I can see the popularity for each of those search terms. So how much the search volume is. I can see these are all unicorns, which makes me excited. And above letter E, there's this plus sign that opens up a sidebar. And the sidebar, if I make this a little bit smaller, shows me the number of reviews and number of resources. So if it were me, I would be really excited by proportional relationships graph title because it has a popularity of 42. It has the number of resources as 1.1, like 1,100, and people are searching for it. But for those of us who just like pictures, you can close that side panel and just look for pretty colors. You're looking for bright purple and bright pink with a bright yellow unicorn. Yeah, that's a good keyword. All right. So the last thing I would say that I do is sometimes I play the alphabet game. And what I mean by that is I'll take a keyword, and if I see it has 5 auto-suggest terms, I know that there might be other keywords hiding behind it. So what I do is if I go proportional relationships and I type the letter A, there's now 3 words that it's trying to look for. And so then it's trying to match like, oh, proportional relationship activity or proportional non-proportional relationships. I look at A and then I would go back and I would try B and I would see if there were any other keywords that didn't show up before. And then after that, I would go back and I would try C. And as you go through the alphabet, it'll go slower and slower, but it helps me to pull up different keywords that I might want to consider making a resource for.
Can you give us a good application strategy? So I'm on this tool and I'm searching, a, I'm trying to find a level 3 or better that's yellow, right, or better.
Yeah.
Is then the strategy to create that resource, or how do I dive deeper?
Well, okay. So this is the danger with keyword tools because really the best way is to create products that you actually need in your classroom and then figure out how to term them because you're solving an actual need, like an actual problem. So then in that case, like if I'm coming up with a reading comprehension resource, and reading comprehension is really hard, but this is where I might try reading comprehension grade 8 and trying to find a resource that is competitive. And I would guess if I type reading comprehension Christmas, no, it's still a zebra right now. Oh, but Christmas reading comprehension. So an example would be if if I was an English teacher, I would consider like Christmas reading comprehension passages and questions and creating a product in my niche and trying to find one that had the lowest level unicorn. So I'm not a fourth grade teacher, so this wouldn't be a good match for me. But if I was a fourth grade teacher or a kindergarten teacher, then 100% people are looking for these terms, but there's not a lot of competition.
Is another application too, after you've made your resource because it's what you need in your classroom, then you type in your potential title in there and you see what, might be a better solution or a better title.
Yeah, are you coming from the context of a brand new seller? Like someone who's creating a product from scratch and they don't have a lot of followers to be able to get those initial business metrics
Uh,
or anything, all of the above.
yeah, just in general.
So the way so so what usually happens when I chat with a TPT seller is they'll say, here's a product and the page views are down and I want to get the page views up again. And assuming that the page, so then in that case, we would try to find um, keywords that they weren't using to put into the title. But usually, by the time that they reach me, they've already done that. So then the game becomes looking to see where they actually rank for that product, and then looking at the competitors and figuring out why the competitors are more attractive, right? So that might be someone who's showing up on page 4 of search. We look at what the covers and the thumbnails, or sorry, what the covers and the snippets look like on page 1, and then figure out what we're not doing so that we can become more attractive.
And
Does that answer your question, or
yeah, I think so. I have another question. You said
for
this
sure?
sheet stops working in a week or two. So do you sell this sheet or how do we continue using it if that's not something we'd want to do?
Yeah, so this sheet alone, um I don't sell. It's part of a larger pro keyword tool that I do sell as part of the membership, a part of our service. And so then it has more options where I can type in this is the same as Christmas. I would type in the keywords here. The pro volume high-low competition is exactly the same, except the secret potentially controversial idea is there are some people, and I don't know where I think about this, but if you search on TPT for, I'm trying to think of like, I don't even know what a good phrase would be. So let's say I look up, um, I'll use the example that was given to me, winter bulletin board ideas. So their point was if you search for winter bulletin board ideas, TPT says there's 60,000 results, and those can be people who have the keywords in different spots. But if you put quotation marks around the keyword, because it says here, use quotes to see only results with that exact phrase, the idea is you can see who your true competition is. And this drops down to 126 results. So in theory, it's easy to rank for winter bulletin board ideas. In practice, because of the way the bucket system works, this doesn't always work, and this sometimes gives false hope in terms of what a unicorn is. So in the pro side, something that we're doing is we kind of do little experiments. On the pro side, there is a quotation mode. So if I type in here winter bulletin board ideas, oh, if only I could spell. If only I could type. Um, so if I type in here, winter bulletin board ideas, it'll load the full popularity, like 60,000 resources. But if I turn on quotation mark mode, it'll appear as a unicorn. But I don't actually know if it is a true unicorn. So there might be unicorns hiding as zebras. There might not be. Yeah. So, so the answer is it's part of a larger package of tools.
Where do we get the larger package of tools?
Yes, tell us about the membership, Mike.
There is a course here, the two courses that are free that walk through what my full tools look like. So you can sort of see like what the pro keyword tool looks like. And then up here, there's a pricing page and you can purchase it from that link. And I suppose since it's Chris, I can give you guys a discount. So like a 20% discount. I'll send you the woohoo. Yeah. After the call, I'll put that code in.
Okay, and do you also want to tell us about your YouTube channel?
I have a YouTube channel. And I try to post videos. The unicorn game stuff is in here as well. So if you go to the front page, the unicorn game and that controversial TpT SEO hack is there. So basically, what I try to do is data-informed research experiments to try to figure out how the algorithm works. And then people will reply and they'll say they agree or disagree, and then that leads to the next video. So yeah.